You scared me. I was just looking for my charger.
Step away from my purse.
You're confused. This is nothing.
It was 1:03 a.m. when I caught her. I had been lying awake when I heard the scrape of a chair downstairs. Wood against tile, slow and careful, like someone didn't want the sound to travel. I got up and walked toward the kitchen. The hallway was dark, except for the yellow glow spilling from the doorway. My daughter-in-law, Rachel, sat at my table with her purse open in front of her. It wasn't sitting right. It was bulging, sagging under its own weight. She slid something inside, a small velvet pouch, my velvet pouch. The moment it dropped, I heard it, the faint metallic clink I knew by heart. She looked up and saw me, then she smiled. The zipper sounded too loud in that quiet kitchen. It made my pulse jump. "Oh, Mom," she said lightly, "you startled me." "I didn't," I said. "Why is your purse open at 1 a.m? "I thought I left my charger here." She stood and swung the purse onto her shoulder. It pulled her down on one side. "Early flight," she added. "Visiting my mom. I have to leave in 6 hours." She moved toward me. I didn't step aside. Put the purse down. Her smile tightened. "Mom, you're confused. Let's both get some sleep." That word again, confused, the one she used whenever I noticed missing cash, missing silver, missing pieces of myself. But I wasn't confused tonight. "I'm calling the police." Her expression dropped like a mask slipping. If you've ever been made to feel crazy in your own home, you'll understand what happened next. I dialed 911 before she could say another word. Before we continue, make sure you are subscribed to my channel and write in the comments where are you watching this video from. We love knowing how far our stories are traveling. 3 years earlier, Rachel had arrived at my door with a casserole and a suitcase. My husband had died 2 months before. The house felt too big, too quiet in a way that made every sound feel accusatory. The refrigerator hum, the settling of the wood, my own footsteps crossing rooms meant for two. My son David called almost every day, his voice tight with worry. "Mom, you shouldn't be alone right now." "I'm fine, sweetheart. I've been taking care of myself for 71 years. Rachel and I were talking. She could stay with you for a while, just until you're back on your feet." I didn't need help, but I heard the plea in his words. He was worried. Rachel was offering. It seemed uncars but fecute to affuse. She moved into the guest room that weekend. At first it was small things, helpful things. She'd answer the phone, she'd sort the mail, she'd pick up groceries. I thanked her. I told David how thoughtful she was, but helpful has a way of becoming necessary. At some point, I realized the mail wasn't just sorted. It was filtered. Envelopes would appear already stacked, utility bills on top, invitations buried beneath. Sticky notes showed up in Rachel's handwriting. "Paid, call later, you don't need this." When the phone rang, she was suddenly always closer to it than I was. "Let me get that, Mom." And then later, "Oh, it was just someone trying to sell you something. I didn't want to bother you." After a month, she started asking about my routine. "Mom, do you really need to drive to the bank every week? I can deposit your checks." "I don't mind. I like getting out." "But what if it rains? What if you slip on the steps? Let me add my name to the account, just in case, just in case." Those 3 words became her favorite. Just in case you forget to pay a bill. Just in case you need someone to sign for a delivery. Just in case something happens and David can't get here in time. I said no to the bank account, but she kept my spare car keys. She said it was for emergencies. By month 3, my friends stopped calling as often. I didn't realize why until my neighbor Eleanor came by. "Vivian, I tried to call you last Tuesday for book club. I didn't get a message?" I left too, with Rachel. I felt something cold settle in my chest. "She didn't tell you, did she?" "I'm sure she forgot." She's forgotten 4 times now. That night, I asked Rachel about it. Oh, did Eleanor call? I thought you weren't feeling up to book club anymore. You've been so tired. I'm not tired. Mom, you've been through a lot. It's okay to slow down. I'm just trying to help. I looked at her and understood. She wasn't helping me. She was replacing me, one small permission at a time. The next week, I found $40 missing from my wallet. I always kept 2 20s in the billfold, tucked behind my driver's license. Emergency cash. My husband had taught me that. I looked in every pocket, every drawer, every coat. I checked the washing machine. I retraced my steps. Rachel found me in the kitchen, pulling out the silverware drawer for the 3rd time. What are you looking for? Money. I had $40. Are you sure? I'm sure. She smiled, gentle, patient. Mom, when did you last see it? Monday. I checked before I went to the pharmacy. That was 4 days ago. Maybe you spent it and forgot? I didn't forget. It's okay. These things happen. You're under a lot of stress. I wanted to argue, but I was tired. And she looked so concerned, standing there with her hand on my shoulder, like I was the one who needed comforting. I stopped looking for the $40, but I didn't stop noticing. My mother's silver spoons, 6 of them, with rose patterns on the handles, disappeared from the dining room hutch. I'd had them for 40 years. I polished them every spring. Rachel, have you seen my mother's spoons? The silver ones? I borrowed them for a dinner party last month. I told you, remember? You didn't tell me. I did, Mom. You said it was fine. I wouldn't have said that. Those were my mother's. Well, I'll bring them back soon. I promise. She never did. My jewelry box started looking different. Not empty, just rearranged. The velvet compartments that used to hold my gold bracelet and my pearl earrings were flattened, like someone had pressed down on them. The earrings were gone. The bracelet was there 1 week, gone the next. I must have put them somewhere safe, I told myself, but I knew my own house. I knew my own things. Every time I mentioned something missing, Rachel had the same response. Are you sure you didn't move it? Could you have lent it to someone? Mom, you're just forgetting, confused, stressed, tired. She had a word for everything. My memory wasn't failing. My trust was being weaponized. I tried to talk to David about it, just once. He came over for dinner on a Sunday. Rachel made pot roast, his favorite. She set the table with my good china, poured wine, asked him about work. She was bright and attentive, the perfect daughter-in-law. After dinner, she went upstairs to take a call. I saw my chance. David, I need to talk to you about something. What's wrong? It's Rachel. Some of my things have gone missing. He set down his fork. What things? Money, my mother's spoons, some jewelry. Have you checked everywhere? Of course I've checked. Mom, you've been through a lot this year. Sometimes grief. This isn't grief. Things are disappearing, and she tells me I'm confused. He looked pained. She's trying to help you. Is she? Yes, she gave up her apartment to move in here. She cooks, she shops, she makes sure you're okay. Maybe you misplaced things. From the hallway, I saw Rachel coming down the stairs. She was smiling, too calm for someone who hadn't been part of the conversation. The corner of her mouth lifted, just slightly, like she'd won something. David saw my face and softened. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, maybe give it some time. If anything else goes missing, we'll figure it out together, okay? But I knew we wouldn't, because Rachel was standing right there, nodding along like she agreed, like she was on my side. After David left, she helped me clear the dishes. I know this has been hard for you, Mom. What has? Adjusting, losing James, getting older. It's okay to feel confused sometimes. I didn't answer. I just washed the plates and put them away. That night, I lay in bed and thought about what I'd lost. Not just money or spoons. I'd lost my son's trust. He believed her over me. I couldn't make him see it. I'd have to show him. The paperwork appeared on a Tuesday morning. I came downstairs to find Rachel at the kitchen table, her laptop open, a stack of printed pages beside her coffee cup. She looked up and smiled. "Morning, Mom. I made you some tea." "Thank you." I sat down. The pages were face up. I could see the header, Durable Power of Attorney. She saw me looking. "I've been thinking about what happened last month. When you missed that doctor's appointment." I hadn't missed it. She'd written down the wrong date in my calendar. But I'd stopped arguing about things like that. "You have so much to keep track of," she continued. "Bills, insurance, prescriptions, property taxes. It's a lot for anyone." "I manage fine." "I know you do, but what if something happened? What if you fell and couldn't sign forms? David and I wouldn't be able to help." She slid the papers across the table. "This is a power of attorney. It means I can handle things if you can't. Pay bills, talk to doctors, manage accounts. It's what responsible families do." I looked at the document. My name was already typed in. Hers was listed as attorney in fact. The signature line at the bottom was blank, waiting. She set a pen beside the last page, like it was the most natural thing in the world. And in that moment, I understood something I'd been avoiding. She wanted my signature, not my well-being. "I'll think about it." "Of course, but we should probably get it done before a tax season. You know how complicated that gets. And the accountant needs someone authorized to sign if you're not available. Before tax season, a deadline I hadn't asked for." I said I'll think about it. Her smile tightened. "Mom, I'm trying to help you. I've given up a lot to be here. The least you could do is trust me." I picked up my tea and left the papers on the table. That afternoon, she brought home brochures. Glossy pamphlets with photos of smiling elderly people in sunlit rooms. Oakwood Senior Living, Meadowbrook Assisted Care, Harmony Heights. "I visited a place last week," she said, spreading them out on the coffee table, "just to get a sense of what's available, for the future. I'm not going to a nursing home." "It's not a nursing home. It's assisted living. They have activities, meal service, medical staff on site. Some people your age find it easier than managing a big house alone." "I'm not alone. You're here." "I am, for now. But David and I have been talking about our future too. We might want to start a family. We might need our own space." She let that sit between us. The threat was quiet but clear. If I didn't cooperate, she'd leave. And then what would I do? Alone in this big house at 74, with a son who thought I was losing my memory. "These places have wait lists," she added. "It's smart to get your name down early, just in case, again." "I'm not interested." "Okay, but think about it, and think about the power of attorney. It would make everything so much easier." She left the brochures on the table. I threw them away after she went upstairs. But the POA papers stayed on the kitchen counter for 3 days. Every time I walked past them, I felt her watching to see if I'd pick them up. I didn't. On Friday, I couldn't find my reading glasses. I kept a pair in the kitchen, another in the living room, a third on my nightstand. All 3 were missing. I searched for 20 minutes before Rachel appeared with them. "Looking for these? They were in the bathroom. You must have taken them in there and forgot. I hadn't been in the bathroom all morning." "Thanks. Mom, things like this are exactly why the POA makes sense. Memory slips happen. It's nothing to be ashamed of." I took the glasses from her hand and walked away. That night, I went to my bedroom early. I told Rachel I was tired. I wasn't. I needed to check something. I waited until I heard her go downstairs. She always watched TV around 8. Then I closed my bedroom door and opened my jewelry box. It sat on my dresser where it had sat for 30 years. Mahogany with a small brass latch. My husband had given it to me on our 20th anniversary. Inside, The velvet-lined compartments held the pieces I'd collected over a lifetime. My grandmother's engagement ring, the pearl necklace my parents gave me when I graduated college, the gold bracelet James bought me the year David was born, a pair of diamond studs from our 25th anniversary. I lifted the lid. The smell hit me first. Old wood, dust. The compartments were empty. Not all of them. My wedding band was still there. I only took it off at night. A pair of small silver earrings I never wore. But the rest, the grandmother's ring, gone. The pearls, gone. The gold bracelet, gone. The diamond studs, gone. I ran my fingers over the velvet. The fabric was compressed, flattened in places where pieces used to rest. There was a thin line of dust along one edge, like someone had opened the box recently and disturbed it. A small scratch on the latch looked fresh. Someone had been careless. I checked the small drawer at the bottom, the one where I kept the appraisal documents and photos from my insurance writer. The paperwork was still there, dated, detailed, with descriptions and serial numbers for each piece. But the jewelry it described was not. I stood there for a long time, holding the empty box. This wasn't misplacing something. This wasn't forgetting where I put it. This was systematic, planned. Someone had taken my most valuable pieces and left just enough behind to make me doubt myself. I thought about the past 3 years, the phone calls Rachel didn't pass along, the $40, the silver spoons, the gradual isolation from my friends, the pressure to sign over legal authority. I thought about the brochures on the coffee table, the assisted living centers with their wait lists and meal plans. I thought about Rachel downstairs, watching TV in my living room, sleeping in my guest room, eating food I paid for, wearing the helpful smile that had fooled my son completely. She wasn't helping me. She was erasing me, one piece at a time, so she could take what was mine. And tomorrow morning, less than 12 hours from now, she was getting on a plane to visit her mother, with whatever she'd taken tucked somewhere I couldn't reach. Once she left town, once she sold those pieces or hid them or gave them away, I'd have no proof. Just an empty box and a reputation for being confused. I closed the jewelry box carefully. My hands were steady. I wasn't confused. I wasn't imagining things. And I wasn't going to let her leave this house with my life. Because she didn't know it yet, I still had the paperwork. I didn't sleep that night. After I closed the jewelry box, I thought about what came next. Rachel's flight was at 9 in the morning. Less than 12 hours to gather proof. I waited until I heard her bedroom door close. Then I waited another 30 minutes. At 11 o'clock, I opened my filing cabinet. My husband had been meticulous about paperwork. Every document had a folder: insurance policies, tax returns, property deed. And tucked in the back, in a folder marked Personal Property, I found what I needed. The jewelry insurance rider. I'd added it to our homeowner's policy 15 years ago. The agent had insisted on professional appraisals, so I'd taken my pieces to a jeweler downtown. They'd photographed each item, noted serial numbers, documented the stones. I spread the appraisal sheets on my desk. Grandmother's engagement ring, platinum setting, 1.2 carat diamond, circa 1940, serial number engraved inside the band. Appraised value, $8,000. Pearl necklace, cultured pearls, 14 karat gold clasp, 36 inches, graduated design. Appraised value, $3,200. Gold bracelet, 14 karat charm style, 5 original charms, including David's birthstone, and a locket with James's photo. Appraised value, $2,700. Diamond stud earrings, 1 carat total weight, white gold posts, excellent clarity. Appraised value, $4,500. Total, $18,400. Not a fortune, but enough to pay off debts, enough to fund a vacation, enough to make stealing from your elderly mother-in-law worth the risk. I photographed each appraisal sheet with my phone. The old phone David had set up for me last year, the one Rachel thought I barely knew how to use. I made sure the serial numbers were visible. I made sure the appraiser's signature and date were clear. Then I went back to my bedroom and photographed the jewelry box, the empty velvet compartments, the compressed fabric where the bracelet used to rest, the thin line of dust along one edge, like someone had opened the box and disturbed it recently, the fresh scratch on the brass latch. I took 6 photos from different angles. The lighting wasn't perfect, but you could see everything that mattered. I had proof she didn't know I kept. At 11:30, I called my attorney. Martin Chen had handled our estate planning 8 years ago when my husband first got sick. We'd drafted a will, set up a trust for the house, made sure everything was in order. He'd told me to call if I ever needed anything. I hadn't called since James died. I called Martin Chen's office number first. It went to voicemail. Of course it did. Then I found the old card he'd given James and me years ago, the one with a second number scribbled in the corner. Emergency. When I dialed that, it rang once, twice, and then a man answered, quieter than a daytime voice. Martin Chen. Mr. Chen, this is Vivian Moore. I'm sorry to call so late. Mrs. Moore, is everything all right? No, I need legal advice about my daughter-in-law. There was a pause. I heard papers rustling. What's happened? I told him. The 3 years of control, the missing money, the missing jewelry, the pressure to sign a power of attorney, the assisted living brochures, the empty jewelry box, and the appraisals that proved what was gone. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Mrs. Moore, what you're describing is elder financial abuse. The words landed like something solid, real. Do not sign anything, he said. Not a power of attorney, not a temporary authorization, nothing. What should I do? Document everything, which it sounds like you've already started. Keep those appraisals safe. Take photos of anything missing or damaged. If you have bank statements showing unauthorized withdrawals, get copies. Do you have a doorbell camera or any security system? I have a doorbell camera, the one that connects to my phone. 1. Check the footage. If she's been leaving the house at odd hours, if there's any pattern that seems suspicious, save those recordings. And then you need to report this. To the police? Yes, file a report. Even if you're not sure you want to press charges yet, you need it on record. Elder abuse cases often escalate. If she's already taking valuables, she's not going to stop. I thought about the POA papers on the kitchen counter, the deadline she'd invented. She wants me to sign over power of attorney. That's part of the pattern. Don't sign. Tonight you protect your assets and you protect yourself. She's leaving tomorrow morning, flying to visit her mother. Do you have reason to believe she'll take more of your property with her? I thought about the 1 a.m. kitchen, the purse, the metallic clink. Yes. Then you need to act tonight. If you wait until she's gone, the evidence goes with her. Save what you can. Report it. Let law enforcement do their job. He gave me the direct number for reporting. He told me to say the words elder financial abuse out loud. He said he'd follow up in the morning, and we'd talk about next steps. Protective orders, estate security, making sure Rachel couldn't access any of my accounts. One more thing, Mrs. Moore. You're doing the right thing. Thank you. Call me tomorrow. I hung up and sat in the quiet of my bedroom. The appraisals were spread on my desk. My phone held the photos. Martin's words were still ringing in my ears. The law had a name for what she'd done. I checked my doorbell camera app. David had installed it 2 years ago after a package was stolen from Eleanor's porch. He'd shown me how to use it, how to get notifications when someone approached the door, how to scroll back through recorded footage. I'd checked it a few times but never paid much attention. Now I scrolled back through the past week. Monday night, 11:47 p.m. Saturday, Rachel leaving through the front door, purse over her shoulder. She looked both ways before walking to her car. Tuesday night, no activity. Wednesday night, 12:58 a.m. Rachel again, same purse, same furtive glance. I kept scrolling. Over the past month, there were 6 instances of her leaving between midnight and 2 a.m. Always with the purse, always alone. I saved each clip to my phone. Then I texted Eleanor. "Are you still awake?" The reply came 30 seconds later. "Barely, what's wrong?" "Can I ask you something? Have you seen Rachel leaving the house late at night?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Yes, I didn't want to worry you. I thought maybe she was just going to the store or something." "How many times?" "At least 4 or 5. Why? Is everything okay?" "I'll explain later. Thank you." I set the phone down. The pattern was clear. Rachel had been leaving the house in the middle of the night when she thought I was asleep, leaving with my jewelry, going somewhere to sell it, or hide it, or pawn it. And tomorrow morning, she'd get on a plane and disappear for a week. By the time she came back, the trail would be cold. Not this time. I looked at the clock. 12:15 a.m. Rachel's flight was in less than 9 hours. I saved every clip to my phone. Then I saved them again. Emailed them to myself, because I'd learned the hard way that anything left in the house could disappear. I pulled up the number Martin gave me for reporting and typed it into my contacts. I didn't press call yet. I just sat there with my phone in my hand, listening to the quiet settle back into my walls. The clock on my nightstand clicked over to 12:52 m. Rachel's flight was at 9, and I didn't need more proof. I needed the right moment, one that would hold up when someone tried to call me confused. I tucked the phone into my robe pocket and waited. Downstairs, a chair scraped against tile. The dispatcher told me to stay on the line. "Mrs. Moore, I'm sending a patrol car to your address. The officer will be there in approximately 8 minutes. Stay where you are. Don't confront her." All right. I sat on my bed with the phone pressed to my ear. She asked me a few more questions. My age, whether I felt safe, whether Rachel had ever been violent. "No, she just takes things." "The officer is 3 minutes away now. I heard a sound downstairs, the scrape of a chair. I think she's awake. Stay in your room, Mrs. Moore." "I'm going downstairs." "Mrs. Moore." I didn't hang up. I set the phone on my nightstand with the line open, the dispatcher still talking softly into the room, and I stood. I walked downstairs. Each step creaked, but the sound was swallowed by the house's stillness. At the bottom, I stopped at the kitchen doorway. Rachel was sitting at the table. Her purse was open in front of her, sagging with weight. She was holding my velvet jewelry pouch, the small dark pouch I kept in my dresser, wrapped in tissue paper. As I watched, she slipped it into the purse. I heard that sound, the soft metallic clink of gold chains, pearls, diamond settings touching. The sound that had haunted me since I'd discovered the empty box. She didn't see me at first. She was rearranging the purse contents, pushing things down. Her movements were quick, practiced. She'd done this before. Then she looked up. Our eyes met. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then her expression smoothed. She smiled. That same bright smile she'd worn for 3 years. "Oh, Mom, you startled me. I couldn't sleep, just getting some water." Her voice was light. No guilt. I looked at the purse, then at her. She stood, her hand moving to close the purse. But she was too slow. I'd already seen. "Why is your purse open at 1 in the morning?" She laughed softly. "I was looking for my phone charger." Her hand was on the zipper. Rachel put the purse down. The smile didn't waver, but her eyes changed. A flicker of calculation. "Mom, you're confused. It's late. We're both tired. Let's go back to bed, okay?" I'd heard that word 100 times over 3 years. Confused, forgetful, stressed, tired. She'd used them like weapons, training me to doubt myself, to second-guess what I saw with my own eyes. But tonight was different. Tonight I had $18,000 in appraisals upstairs. I had photos of empty jewelry compartments. I had doorbell footage showing her leaving at midnight. I had a lawyer who'd told me the law had a name for what she was doing. And I had maybe 5 minutes until a police officer knocked on my door. I didn't need to convince her. I didn't need to argue. I just needed to keep her here. I called the police. The smile disappeared, not gradually. It vanished like someone had flipped a switch. You did what? I called 911. They're on their way. She stared at me. Her hand was still on the purse zipper, frozen. Mom, that's insane. Why would you call the police? Because you're stealing from me. I'm not. She stopped, recalibrated. Her voice softened, turned pleading. Mom, I know you've been stressed. I know losing Dad was hard, but you can't call the police just because you're upset with me. I'm not upset. I'm reporting a crime. There's no crime. You're confused. You probably moved your jewelry and forgot where you put it. This happens at your age. I looked at her, the daughter-in-law who'd moved into my house to help, who'd screened my phone calls and kept my car keys just in case, who'd gaslit me for 3 years while she dismantled my life piece by piece. The purse, Rachel. Put it down. This is my purse. For a moment, I thought she might run. She glanced toward the back door, then at the hallway, calculating her options. But before she could move, I heard it. The sound of a car pulling into my driveway. A door closing. Footsteps on the porch. And then the doorbell. Rachel's face went pale. I walked to the front door. My hands were steady as I unlocked it and pulled it open. A police officer stood on my porch, young, maybe 30, calm face, badge gleaming under the porch light. Behind him, I could see the patrol car in my driveway, lights off but engines still running. Mrs. Moore? Yes? I'm Officer Hayes. You called about a theft? Yes, my daughter-in-law. She's in the kitchen. She has my jewelry in her purse. He looked past me into the house, professional, alert. Is anyone else home? Just the 2 of us. All right, can I come in? Please. I stepped aside. He walked into the foyer, his hand resting casually near his belt. Not threatening, just ready. Rachel appeared in the kitchen doorway. The smile was back, but it looked forced now, brittle. Officer, I'm so sorry. My mother-in-law has been very confused lately. I think she's having some kind of episode. She called you over a misunderstanding. Officer Hayes looked at her, then at me. Ma'am, can you tell me what happened? My jewelry is missing. Several pieces. I have insurance appraisals for them. I believe she has them in her purse right now. Rachel's laugh was too loud. Mom, that's ridiculous. This is my purse, my things. Then you won't mind if the officer takes a look. Her face froze. Officer Hayes turned to Rachel. Ma'am, would you consent to a search of your bag? This is harassment. She's elderly. She doesn't know what she's saying. Ma'am, I'm asking for your consent. You can say no, but it would help clear this up quickly. Rachel looked at me, then at the officer, then at the purse, on the kitchen table behind her, still half open, still bulging with weight. She knew she was cornered. If she refused, it would look suspicious. If she consented, the story ended right here. This is insane, she muttered. Officer Hayes held her gaze. When? Is that a yes or a no, ma'am? Her jaw clenched. Yes, fine, look. He nodded once, like he was sealing it in his mind. Thank you. For clarity, you are giving me permission to look inside your bag? Rachel swallowed. Yes. Officer Hayes walked past her into the kitchen. I followed. The purse was sitting on the table where she'd left it. The zipper was pulled halfway closed. Through the gap, I could see the edge of dark velvet. Officer Hayes didn't rush. He looked at the bag, then at Rachel, then back at the bag, like he was mapping the scene. He reached for the zipper. The sound filled the kitchen, that metallic rasp, the sound of evidence unsealed. I let the law speak for me. Officer Hayes pulled the purse open. Inside was my velvet jewelry pouch. He lifted it out carefully, like evidence, and set it on the table. He unfolded the velvet, my grandmother's engagement ring. Platinum band catching the light, my mother's pearls. 36 inches, coiled like a snake. The gold bracelet with David's birthstone charm and James's photo locket. The diamond studs, everything. But that wasn't all. Officer Hayes reached into the purse again and pulled out a slip of paper. Thin, thermal print fading at the edges, like it had been handled too many times. He read it, then looked at Rachel. "Ma'am, this appears to be a pawn shop receipt." Rachel's face went white. "I can explain?" "It's dated 3 days ago." He turned the receipt toward me. I could see the print, small but readable. Riverside Pawn and Loan. Transaction date, 3 days ago. Item, 14 KT gold charm bracelet. Loan amount, $400. Hold period, 30 days from transaction date. And near the bottom, in smaller text, a line that made my stomach drop. Items in transaction, 4, my bracelet. The one on the table. She'd pawned it 3 days ago. Tonight she was taking it again, along with everything else, before her morning flight. Officer Hayes set the receipt beside the jewelry. "Mrs. Moore, do you have documentation that this jewelry belongs to you?" "Yes, upstairs. Insurance appraisals, photos, serial numbers." "Can you get those for me?" I went upstairs. My hands were shaking now, but not from fear. From relief. I came back with the appraisal folder and handed it to him. He opened it. Compared the photos to the jewelry. Checked the serial number inside my grandmother's ring against the appraisal sheet. Perfect match. He closed the folder and looked at Rachel. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to stay right here while I make a call." Rachel didn't answer. She stared at the table, at the jewelry, at the receipt, at the proof. The paper was dated, and her lies had an expiration. Officer Hayes stepped outside to make his call. Through the window, I could see him on the porch, radio in hand, speaking in low tones. Rachel sat at the kitchen table, silent. She hadn't moved since he'd laid out the jewelry and the pawn receipt. She just stared at the table like she could will it all to disappear. I sat across from her, waiting. When Officer Hayes came back inside, his expression was professional but different. More serious. "Mrs. Moore, I've contacted our elder abuse unit. A detective will be here within the hour to take your statement. In the meantime, I'm documenting everything and logging it as evidence." He pulled out his phone and began photographing the jewelry on the table. Each piece, the pawn receipt, the purse. He worked methodically, narrating into a small recorder. 4 items of jewelry recovered from the suspect's bag. 1 pawnshop receipt dated December 24th. 1 leather handbag. The suspect, not your daughter-in-law. The suspect. He wrote on a small card, then glanced at me. "For your records, ma'am, case number will be attached to this report. I'll also leave you a property receipt for anything we take into evidence tonight." Rachel finally spoke. "This is a mistake. She gave me those. She forgets things. She's old." Officer Hayes didn't look up. "Ma'am, I'm going to ask questions, but you don't have to answer them." Her mouth snapped shut. He finished photographing and turned to me. "Mrs. Moore, can you walk me through what happened tonight?" I told him. The jewelry box discovery at 9 p.m., the call to my attorney, the doorbell camera footage, coming downstairs and seeing her with the purse. He took notes, asked clarifying questions. "And the insurance documentation?" "Yes, appraisals from 15 years ago, with photos and serial numbers for each piece." "That's going to be critical for the case. Case. The words settled over the kitchen like a weight. When he finished, he turned to Rachel. "Ma'am, based on what we found tonight, you need to come with me while we continue this investigation. The detective will want to speak with you. I'm not going anywhere without a lawyer." "That's your right. You can request counsel as soon as you're at the station." She looked at me then. Her eyes were hard. "You're going to regret this." "No," I said quietly. "I'm not." Officer Hayes escorted her out. I watched through the window as he opened the patrol car door and she got in. The car pulled out of my driveway. The red taillights disappeared down the street. The house was quiet. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time, looking at the empty space where the jewelry had been. Officer Hayes had bagged it, tagged it, and left me the receipt on the counter like a grim little promise. It wasn't just theft anymore. It was elder exploitation. The detective arrived at 2:30 in the morning. Detective Sarah Reyes. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, blazer over jeans. "Mrs. Moore, I'm with the Elder Abuse Unit. I'm going to ask some questions, then we'll talk about next steps." We sat in my living room. She took notes on a tablet as I talked. 3 years of control, the missing items, the POA pressure, the assisted living brochures, the jewelry box, the doorbell footage. She listened without interrupting. "Mrs. Moore, what you're describing is a pattern of financial exploitation and coercion. It's a felony. The pawn receipt gives us concrete evidence. Do you want to press charges?" "Yes. Even knowing it's your daughter-in-law? Even knowing it means criminal prosecution?" "Especially because it's my daughter-in-law." She nodded once. "All right, we'll request her financial records. We'll interview the pawn shop, we'll review your footage, and we'll build the case. How long?" "A few weeks for the full file, but we can file for an emergency protective order tomorrow. In many counties, the court can set a hearing within 48 hours. The number sat in my chest like a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. What about my son? He's not implicated unless we find evidence he was involved. He wasn't. He just didn't want to see it. That's common. Families don't recognize exploitation until it's undeniable. She handed me her card. "If you think of anything, call me. And Mrs. Moore? You did the right thing. A lot of people don't speak up. You trusted your instincts." After she left, I sat until dawn, staring at the spot on my counter where the POA papers had sat for days, like a trap I'd almost stepped into. At 9 a.m., Detective Reyes called. "Mrs. Moore, we've obtained the pawn shop records. Can you come verify the items this morning?" Yes, she picked me up at 10. We drove to Riverside Pawn and Loan, a small shop in a strip mall 20 minutes from my house. The bell chimed when we entered. The manager was waiting. Detective Reyes had already served the subpoena for their records. "We've pulled all transactions under your daughter-in-law's name for the past 6 months. I need you to identify the items still on hold." He led us to a back room. On a metal table, laid on black velvet, were 4 pieces of jewelry. My mother's pearls, the gold bracelet, a ruby ring I'd inherited from my aunt, emerald earrings from my 30th anniversary. 4 items, pawned over 6 months. I'd noticed the pearls and bracelet missing, but the ring and earrings, I'd thought I'd misplaced them. She'd spaced out the thefts carefully, taking things I didn't wear daily. "These are all mine." Detective Reyes photographed each piece next to the pawn tickets. "What's the total loan amount across these 4 transactions?" He checked his computer. $1,600, $1,600. Less than 10% of their actual worth. Rachel had pawned my heirlooms for quick cash, a few hundred at a time. Can I get them back? Once the case allows release, for now they remain on hold and are part of the evidence trail. But you will get them back. I looked at my mother's pearls on black velvet in a pawn shop back room. at the bracelet with David's birthstone charm, at the emerald earrings. She'd been selling my life piece by piece. That afternoon, I called David. "Mom, is everything okay?" "No, come over. There's something you need to see." "Is this about Rachel? She called this morning. Said you're having a breakdown." "Just come, please." He arrived an hour later, exhausted. I handed him the folder. Appraisals, police report, pawnshop photos, doorbell timestamps. Read it. He sat and read. I watched his face, the confusion, the denial cracking, the slow realization. He looked at the doorbell footage. "This is Rachel, leaving at midnight. 6 times in the past month, always with the purse." He flipped to the pawnshop photos. "That's Mom's bracelet, with my birthstone. She pawned it 3 days ago for $400, then tried to take it again last night. But she said you gave her these. Look at the serial numbers. They match. Look at the pawn tickets with her signature." He read the police report. When he finished, his hands were shaking. "I didn't know. I tried to tell you. I didn't want to believe it. I thought you were just grieving. I thought maybe—" He stopped, put his head in his hands. "I'm sorry, Mom. I should have listened." "You listen now." His eyes were red. "What happens next? Charges? Elder financial abuse? Theft? Fraud? There might be more we haven't found?" "More?" "The silver spoons, the $40. The police are going through her records." He was quiet. "Does she go to jail?" "Maybe. That's up to the prosecutor." "And us?" "There is no us anymore. She can't contact me. There's going to be a protective order. If you stay with her, you stay away from me." "Mom, are you going to believe the evidence or her excuses?" He looked at the folder, at his birthstone charm in a pawn shop. "I believe the evidence." "Then prove it." He started to cry, but the evidence didn't need his belief. The protective order came through 3 days later. Detective Reyes called Thursday morning. "Mrs. Moore, the judge signed the emergency protective order. It's effective immediately. Your daughter-in-law is prohibited from contacting you by any means. She's barred from coming within 500 feet of your home. Violation is a criminal offense." "How long does it last?" 30 days for now. The court will schedule a hearing after that to determine next steps." "What if she tries to contact me?" "Call 911. Document everything. Don't respond." She paused, then added the part that felt like someone finally saying out loud what I'd been living with. "And secure your home today. Change your locks. Update passwords. Make sure she can't access anything that belongs to you." That afternoon, I called a locksmith. His name was Tom. He arrived at 2 p.m. I looked at my locks, front door, back door, garage, and nodded like he'd seen this kind of fear before. "You want all 3 changed? And the deadbolts?" "Yes." "Takes about an hour." I sat at my kitchen table while he worked. I could hear the drill, the scrape of metal on metal, the click of new tumblers setting into place. Each sound felt like a line being drawn. When he finished, he handed me 3 sets of keys. "These are yours. Nobody else has copies. Don't let anyone borrow the originals." "I won't." After he left, I walked through the house and locked every door with the new keys. The turns were smooth, certain. Then I did what Rachel had tried to keep me from doing for 3 years. I took back my own access. I changed my email password first, because everything ran through that. Then my bank login. Then I turned on 2-step verification and wrote the backup codes on a sheet of paper that I slid into my filing cabinet behind the insurance writer. I called the bank and added a verbal passphrase to my accounts, something Rachel couldn't guess from family talk. When I hung up, my hands were steady. The locks were changed. The rest would take longer. That night, I called Martin Chen. "Mr. Chen, Detective Reyes said I should update anything legal." "Good idea, Mrs. Moore. Let me pull your file." He put me on hold. 2 minutes later, he came back. "You're clean? Rachel isn't listed anywhere. David is still your beneficiary and executor. Eleanor is backup, but I want to add one more layer. A notarized statement affirming your capacity and your intent. If she claims you gifted items or authorized anything, this helps shut that down early. When? Tomorrow. 10 a.m. there? The next morning, I went to his office. The affidavit was waiting, crisp and blunt. I, Vivian Moore, being of sound mind. I did not give Rachel Moore permission to take, sell, or pawn any of my personal property. I am pursuing criminal charges of my own free will. I signed in front of the notary. The stamp hit the paper with a heavy little thud. Martin slid a copy toward me. Keep this with your appraisals. If anyone tries to paint you as confused, you hand them this. I nodded because I finally understood something I'd resisted. Dignity wasn't a feeling, it was documentation. On Saturday, Rachel tested the order. My phone rang at 9 a.m. Her name lit the screen. I didn't answer. She called again and again. By noon, 8 missed calls. No voicemail. At 2 p.m., a text appeared. Mom, please, we need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. I took a screenshot and emailed it to Detective Reyes. At 4 p.m., another text. David is turning you against me, but I love you. I only wanted to help. Screenshot email. At 6 p.m., she showed up. I was in the living room when I heard the car pull into the driveway. I looked through the window. Rachel's sedan. She stepped out and walked up to my front door. Like the protective order was just a suggestion. I turned the new deadbolt. The lock clicked into place. She rang the doorbell. I didn't move. She knocked, waited, then knocked harder. Mom, I know you're in there. Please, just talk to me. I stood in the hallway with my phone in my hand, not answering, not negotiating. Her voice sharpened through the door. This is insane. I didn't do anything wrong. You gave me those things. You know you did. You're just confused. That word again, like it was a spell. I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? My daughter-in-law is at my house. There's a protective order against her. She's not allowed to be here. What's your address? I gave it. Stay inside. Lock your doors. Officers are on the way. Rachel was still talking through the wood. David is brainwashing you. He's making you think I did something wrong. But I was just trying to take care of you. I didn't answer. Then I heard her try the doorknob. It didn't turn. She tried again, harder, rattling it like anger could unlock a keyway. Open this door. 5 minutes later, sirens. Rachel heard them too. Her words cut off mid-sentence. I heard hurried footsteps, the slam of a car door, but she didn't get far. A patrol car pulled in behind her sedan, blocking the driveway. 2 officers got out. One went to her car, the other came to my front door. I opened it just enough to speak. Mrs. Moore? Yes? You called about a protective order violation? Yes. She rang the bell, knocked, and tried the door. Do you have a copy of the order? Yes. I brought it out, printed, creased at the edges from being folded and unfolded like a lifeline. The officer scanned it and nodded. This is clear. She violated it. From the driveway, I could see Rachel in the back seat of the patrol car. Face turned toward the window, like she still expected someone to rescue her from consequences. The officer handed the order back. You did the right thing calling us. I won't hesitate to call again. The patrol car pulled away, taillights shrinking into the dusk. When the street went quiet, I locked the door, then the back door, then the garage. I turned on the porch light, and for the first time in 3 years, the house felt like mine again. The case moved forward without me having to carry it on my back. Detective Reyes called when she had to. The protective order was extended. Rachel entered a no-contest plea. Restitution was ordered. The rest became paperwork with other people's names on it. I didn't go to sentencing. I'd already said everything I needed to say, with appraisals, timestamps, and a zipper sound the law could hear. What changed quietly was my house. Every night, I turned the new deadbolt and felt it catch. Every morning, I checked my porch camera, not because I was afraid, but because I was allowed to know what happened at my own front door. My affidavit sat behind the insurance writer in the filing cabinet. My bank had a verbal passphrase. My phone had two-step verification that only I controlled. I stopped rehearsing my innocence in my head. 2 weeks after Rachel was taken in for violating the order, David moved out. "Mom, I filed for divorce." "Good." His voice sounded smaller than it used to. "I should have believed you from the start." "You believe me now. That's what matters." We talked once a week after that, short conversations. He told me he'd started therapy. I didn't praise him for it. I just kept the boundary steady and watched what he did, not what he promised. 3 months later, he brought my granddaughter to visit. Sophie was 6, dark curls, my husband's smile. I hadn't seen her in months. Rachel had always found a reason it wasn't a good time. The moment Sophie stepped through the door, she ran straight into my legs. "Grandma." I knelt and held her tight. "Hi, sweetheart. Daddy says I can visit you now, whenever I want." "That's right," I said, "whenever you want." We spent the afternoon in the backyard. Sophie picked dandelions and made wishes. I showed her how to deadhead the roses the way my mother once showed me. Pinch, twist, let the plant keep growing. David sat on the porch and watched like someone learning what safety looks like. Before they left, Sophie hugged me again. "I missed you, Grandma." "I missed you too." After their car disappeared down the street, I stood in my kitchen for a long time. The jewelry box on my dresser was still empty. My pieces were still moving through evidence and court schedules. But the house was mine. My voice was mine. And for the first time in 3 years, no one in my home got to call me confused and have it mean anything. 6 months later, Detective Reyes called. "Mrs. Moore, your jewelry has been released. You can pick it up whenever you're ready." I went that afternoon. The items were in a sealed bag. My grandmother's ring, my mother's pearls, the bracelet, the earrings. At home, I sat at the kitchen table and looked at each piece. Not as stolen property, not as evidence, just as heirlooms. I thought about catching Rachel at 1 a.m, the zipper sound, the metallic clink, the decision to call 911. That decision changed everything. I didn't put them back in the box she'd emptied. I put them in a safe deposit box only I could access. And I walked out of the bank with nothing in my purse except my own keys. Then I called Sophie about Sunday dinner. She said yes. If you're listening and someone is calling you confused while things keep disappearing, trust that feeling. Take photos, save timestamps, keep appraisals and receipts. And get help. Call 911 if you're in danger. Contact Adult Protective Services. Talk to an elder law attorney and alert your bank's fraud team. If this story hit close to home, share it with someone who needs the reminder. Your voice still has power, and don't forget to click subscribe and tell me in the comments what part left you with your mouth open.